hey, is Kenya becoming another Uganda, or it is just becoming unsafe for all political opposition members from across the world? On the 20th of November, the country woke up to news about the missing of Dr. Kizza Besigye. In a tweet, her wife, Dr. Winnie Byanyima, I read, she says, she posted on her tweet account and she said, I request the government of Uganda to release my husband, Dr. Kizza Besigye, from wherever he's being held immediately. He was kidnapped last Saturday while he was in Nairobi for Honorable Martha Karua's book launch. I am now reliably informed that he's in a military jail in Kampala. We, his family and his lawyers, demand to see him. He's not a soldier, and why is he being held in a military jail? We get to know this after 5 days of Dr. Kizza Besigye missing. We all woke up to such news, and this is how far we've gone. Dr. Kizza Besigye has been one of the most long-standing rivals of dictator Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, and he has done whatever he could in his power to see that, you know, he stops dictator Museveni. Dictator Museveni is a person that has been known for all along amanyidwa okubeera omutemu, okubeera dictator, and wherever character of a tyrant and a dictator is associated to him. Now, waking up to this news, in one way or another, surprises, in another way it doesn't surprise, because why should I say it surprises? This time round it happens in Kenya. Dr. Kizza Besigye gets abducted from Kenya, then he's driven off to Uganda. Some people will say, what is the difference between an abduction and arrest? The difference between an abduction and an arrest is one, in an abduction tomanya ani akutute, in an arrest omanya ani akutute. In an arrest, people know where you are, you have access to your lawyers. In an abduction, you don't know where you are, your people don't know where you are, and you don't even have access to your lawyers. Your family members are not notified. Just like you saw, Winnie Byanyima, the executive director of UNICEF, came out and went to the internet because he had access mukazi kukubawe. But this has been happening over time and over time. Then we shall pose the question, is Kenya becoming unsafe for all political prisoners or for all opposition members? Kimanyidwa ebbanga lyonna nti buli Munnayuganda abaddenga ali political nga bwafuna obuzibu mu Uganda, ensi gyasookerako okulowoozaako okuddukamu okugenda for their own safety has been Kenya. And it has been there even in the era of the Musevenis. Museveni we yali agenda mu nsiko yaddukira Kenya, family ye yagikwata n'agitwala Kenya. But not even a long time ago, I think it was in July, bakwata close to 30 people, 32 members of the FDC, of the Forum Democratic Change, abali bagenze mu conference e Kenya, ne bagibwayo ne bakomezebwayo Uganda, ne bateebwako emisango gya kulya mu nsi yaabwe. Not even so long. When that happened in the same Kenya, then this happens to Dr. Kizza Besigye and Abed Lutale. Omuntu n'akwatibwa n'aggyibwa Kenya, n'avukibwa directly, family ye tetegeezeddwako, n'aleetebwa ng'akuumibwa military prison. A person who is not part of the military. N'aggyibwa Kenya, ne tusirika ng'eggwanga. Can we get into the gist of how this all happened? Let's listen to what Kizza Winnie says about what happened. Sorry, not Kizza Winnie. Winnie Byanyima says about what happened. Let's listen to what as she explains.
Tell us exactly what happened. What did he tell you happened to him when he was abducted from the neighborhood in Nairobi?
Well, he came here to Nairobi to attend a book launch by the Honorable Martha Karua, who's a friend. And by the way, you should all read her book. It's an autobiography. He arrived on a Saturday, and the launch was going to be on a Sunday. Then someone he knew had invited him to meet him here in Nairobi, who is a British national, as far as he knows. And this British national said he had a group of colleagues and friends and businesses who invest in Africa who wanted to support political parties and could support their mass mobilization work, their party activity. So he was exploring this. And he was invited to a meeting in Riverside. He went with his party colleague, Haji Obed Kamlegea. And when they arrived there, and they entered the room, and were just being introduced to two people, the one he knew and another he didn't know, a knock on the door, and it is announced that it's Kenya police that has arrived. Turns out it's 8 men in plain clothes. He could not tell who was who, but they say you're under arrest. And in the room was this man and his friend with 2 guns and with a box of money, or so-called money. He doesn't know whether it was money or not. And they said, you're under arrest. And he said, wait a moment. I don't know why this man came with 2 guns. I don't know why he has this box of money. I did talk about fundraising, but I wasn't expecting this. He didn't have time. He was just taking photographs of. And then the man who opened the door, the British man, had disappeared at this time, vanished. And he was left with one other man whom he didn't know. So 4 of the men bundled him and his party colleague in a car and drove them the whole night towards the border with Uganda. They crossed the border into Uganda without stopping. It was clearly an operation, well planned. Somewhere towards Nakuru, the 4 men who abducted them forgot and started talking in our language. So Kizza Besigye said, well, I wish you'd told us we speak the same language, just to joke.
Yeah.
And that's how they then crossed them into Uganda and threw them into a military jail.
That must be like a 10, 12-hour ride, drive.
Yes, they drove all night, they sat on them, and they arrived in Kampala when he said he could hardly walk. And they threw them in the military jail. This has happened before. He's been through this since he first declared that he would run against President Museveni.
Well, you get it. You get how the story begins. We have said, we woke up, fenge gwanga fena twazukira mu kikangabo. Ti omuntu ali mu kaliba ya Dr. Kizza Besigye yamala ennaku 3 ku 5 nga misinga. Ensi yonna netategerekeka. What happens next? After all that happens, yavugibwa okuvibwa Kenya, n'avugibwa rapidly paka Uganda. First and foremost, if Besigye had a crime, what me have been telling people, nze ng'omuntu sina buzibu kubwa Besigye kukwatibwa, but is it legal? Has the legalities been followed? Because singa abeera mu Canada nga nina emmundu, Uganda tesobola kujja kunkwata negamba olina emmundu twakusanze Canada ng'olina emmundu. No, the law does not apply like that. The law applies in the jurisdiction. Why? Because waliwo ebitundu ebimu nga okikola musango ate mu kitundu ekirala nga si musango. For example, ngenda kuwa example esinga okubeera vivid. 1. Wogenda mu nsi nga Canada okulya ebisiyaga. It is normal, it is lawful. Naye wogenda mu nsi nga Uganda okulya ebisiyaga bagufuula musango oba musango. So in one jurisdiction, ekintu kisobola okubeera lawful, in another jurisdiction nga tekiri lawful. Kati kyogenda kugenda okwate muna Uganda alya bisiyaga Canada, omukwata omutwale Uganda nti ono muna Uganda twamukutte ng'alya ebisiyaga Canada, katumuze Uganda tumukyajinge. No. Neeteera ne Uganda yennyini we bakukwata ng'olina omusango nga waguddiza Masaka, kooti ekuwezesa ebeera ya Masaka. Tebakuvuga ate kutwala Nakawa, tebakuvuga ate kutwala walala. Kooti mu kitundu moddiza omusango, it is the jurisdiction of that court that has to hold you accountable. And what happens when they go in court? Besigye, who is a civilian, is being tried in a military court. Actually, this is not even a court, in a military tribunal. Kakiiko kakwatisa mpisa. Naye mwami Museveni ne government ye beyambisizza akakiiko kano ebbanga lyonna okutugulugunya oba okugyako abantu eddembe lyabwe ery'obwabanga okulabika nga bayisibwa mu ngeri entuufu. No civilian should be charged in a military court. NUP political prisoners have been charged in the military court. We have had several people, the Kabazikurukas, being charged in the military court. To China, a petition against the Erimu Constitution Court, which are in the Mulamuzo Mukuru wa Uganda, Owinyidoro, Aveyo, Asalewo. Military court, erina kubeera y'abantu nga bamaji. Actually, they must be serving. Kalina kubeera nga kakiiko kakwatisa mpisa eri bannamagye. Besigye si munnamagye. Abed Luchale gwe bamukutte naye si munnamagye. But the question is, okay, bino byonna twabadde twabimanyire Uganda. Naye ne Kenya tulina abantu bangi nnyo, bannayuganda bangi nnyo ababadde bali e Kenya nga bwe bawulirira emirembe. Era ng'owulira n'abannayuganda bangi abagamba bwe mba nzire Uganda sigenda direct Ntebe nja kuyita e Kenya mali nkozese road transport okuyingira Uganda. And this is what is happening. The same Kenya, we had opposition members from Egypt being picked. We had opposition members from Sudan being picked. The same Kenya. Kenya, are you becoming another Uganda? Are you becoming another abduction plate? Actually, when you listen to Martha Karua, Chigambibwa, Besigye yali agenze Kenya ku launch of akatabo ka Martha Karua. Martha Karua is one of the prominent politicians in Kenya. Chigambibwa nti yali agenze ku launch ya akatabo ka Martha Karua, which was launched at Serena Hotel, Kenya. N'abasala wagende abeereko meeting emu n'abantu abamu. Wawuliza Martha Karua ng'ayogera ku Kenya. When she is talking about Kenya, you may not believe that she is talking about Kenya. Let's roll this tape and we come back.
Muhisa Kitui, CJ Emeritus, Dr. Mutunga, Professor Mutunga, and Kabando Akabando addressed a media conference with a long statement. And the thrust of it was basically just saying that things are not going right.
Yeah.
What is this?
It looks like Dr. Ruto has suspended the constitution without saying so. We cannot be having abductions by state agencies or by police officers or security officers not in uniform, who refuse to identify themselves, who refuse to say for what offense they are picking somebody, and who do not disclose where they are taking someone. I believe yesterday it is the fact that the social media went viral. That's the only reason they took Boni to Kamukunji. Otherwise, if they were taking him to a police station, why was it so difficult to say so at the point they picked him? Why was it difficult to say we are police officers, we are here for this and that offense? I believe if it were not for social media and for Kenyans and for the media generally, Bob Jagi and the Aslam brothers would not have been released, and we do not know what would have become of them. I know there are many other people being picked who do not have networks that can cry out for them, and some never return. We now know of the Pegulia gentleman whom they abducted. 1 week, he surfaced dead. We know of Gen Zs like Denzel Omondi, who was picked during the Gen Z protests and surfaced in a quarry dead. The Kenya National Commission on Human Rights listed over 60 people, if you like, missing. We do not know whether their list and who else is missing. It could be in the hundreds. What have we become? A country that abducts tortures and kills its own, a country that is having detention camps. And this is not in dispute. Remember, the Bob Jagge and the Aslam brothers clearly said where they were, there were many others. To date, police have never owned up that they're the ones who held them. And we know they are the ones. Look, the morning Masengeri is going to court under threat of being jailed because he's showing up, because there's a warrant to detain him, is the day they are released clandestinely. What government operates like that? If you cannot guarantee or rather respect people's right to life and guarantee their liberty other than, if you're picked within the law, then you do not deserve to be in power. This is a regime Kenyans must get ready to throw out.
You've had it right. You've had it right. Kenya is becoming another Uganda, because now in Uganda we have gotten used to the abductions. Bantu bafe bawambibwa emisana n'ekiro abamu tuddamu ne tubalaba, abalala tetufuna na chance wadde neemu yonna kuddamu kubalaba. John Bosco Kibalama yabuzibwawo ebbanga lyonna tetuddangamu kubalaba. But when you hear about what is happening in Kenya, it is the same system that has been happening here. It is called the Musevenism system. Bobby Wine warned you Kenyans that you should raise when you still have time and fight the Musevenism that is coming into your country.
And on the 8th of November, you tweeted, "Dear Kenyans, be vigilant. This may come as a lone MP making a ridiculous suggestion, but this is how it starts. That's how schemes to remove term and age limits begin. Defend your constitution before it's too weak to defend you."
Yeah.
You saw that statement. For you, what did you feel as you read what was a discussion in Kenya?
When I saw that, I saw Musevenism making inroads into Kenya. And that should scare you. Any sign of Musevenism is a dangerous sign. And I'll tell you, I respect Kenya. I don't intend to meddle into the issues of Kenya, but we are one and the same. These borders were drawn by colonialists. Our father Kwame Nkrumah told us that the liberation of Africa can only be real if we are all free. No country is free when their neighbors or when their brothers and sisters across the borders are not free. Dictatorships are the easiest things to export. I was concerned when General Museveni was referred to as father of the region, but we can respect age, but General Museveni
he is respected by many for restoring peace, order in Uganda after the chaotic period, economic
Those people
growth.
that look at General Museveni,
There are those who see that as his enduring legacy.
Well, everybody looks at it from their point of view. Some people look at it from a beneficial point of view. I am a Ugandan, and I'm speaking on behalf of the majority of Ugandans because we went to the polls and they gave me their mandate. But I'm also speaking from the point of common sense, because you know that when it starts like that, you certainly see where it's ending. So the reason why we go to school, and I'll quote Dr. Besigye, is to learn from the experiences of others. If you Kenyans cannot learn from the experiences of Ugandans, then it will be unfortunate for you to learn from your own experiences.
In a nutshell,
I told you to guard your constitution before it is too weak. To guard you, constitutions are supposed to be bigger than leaders, bigger than presidents. You have had the privilege of watching one leader peacefully hand over power to another leader. You don't want to lose that. You want leaders to be held accountable, for leaders to constantly be reminded that their term is going to expire and they will go off the presidency and others will come into power, and they should be reminded that they will be held accountable for the things they do while in power. You must not lose that, my brothers and sisters.
The president that you have right now, Ruto, is being mentored by Museveni, and you see how Museveni has downtrodden our country. Eggwanga lyaffe aliyisizzamu buli kimu omukulembeze omubi yandiyisiddwamu. This is happening in our country, and it is extending to Kenya. Boniface Mwangi was abducted. Actually, he was abducted nga alina abaana be ne bamupiikingawo ne bamutwala ne bamuleka n'abaana be. And this is happening to Besigye now. It is now spreading nti Museveni alina obusobozi obugenda na gwe opposition member agenda kunyigiriza ewaka ne yona joyagala okuddukira ajja ku kimeyo. Load of abductions. It is happening in Uganda. He can abduct you from Kenya. He can abduct you from Sudan. He can probably abduct you from Tanzania and of course Rwanda. This is how far we've gone. This is the Musevenism system. We are saying you and I should stop. Because zino zandibadde nsi, the sovereignty of a country, nsi the independence. Bagamba Besigye bamukwata n'emmundu bbiri ng'agenda kujjako government. Two guns. Okay, ekibuuzo kiri nti okay bamukwata n'emmundu bbiri yayingira atya Kenya ng'emmundu ezo bbiri azirina. Tugambe nti kale yazisanga mu Kenya. How safe is Kenya? The script is not scripting. Two guns. Nga tugambe emmundu bbiri zigenda kujjako government. Yes, if Besigye had done something wrong, he would have been charged in Kenya. Rachite mumuchargingide Kenya. There are laws, if Uganda is to extradite a Ugandan criminal from Kenya, there are laws that must be followed. Were these laws followed? No. The load of abduction, Museveni, dictator of himself, runs to Kenya, picks a Ugandan, whoever he wishes, wherever you are, he will pick you. Rwanda did the same thing. He picked an opposition member from the UAE airport, flew him back to Rwanda. But it's gonna take people of moral accountability. And I want to thank all leaders of moral stability that are coming out to call for the release of Dr. Kizza Besigye while in court. Let's see the saga that happened here.
So where do you get the money? You Kizza.
I went for 5 years to study law, and this constitution was promulgated in 1995, and Article 221, these articles are in my head, says that UPDF shall promote, respect and protect this constitution and the fundamental human rights of Ugandans. And we are saying the right of fair hearing is not negotiable. And we are saying the right of Besigye and Rotary to choose their lawyers, even to change them, is not negotiable. So if you have not read those specific provisions, you shouldn't come here to mislead the court.
You should come when you are prepared.
I am prepared. That's why I'm reading the constitution and you are reading the rhetoric.
And yes, President Bobi Wine was addressing the media and called for the release of Dr. Kizza Besigye. Let's watch him.
I read in the news that Dr. Kizza Besigye has been apparently abducted in Nairobi. We condemn that. It is very, very shocking that Kenya, which used to be a safe haven for dissidents, is now increasingly becoming, an operational zone for the dictatorship in Uganda. We condemn that. We demand for the immediate release of Dr. Kizza Besigye. And I call upon all people of good conscience to condemn this and to demand for the immediate release of Dr. Kizza Besigye. And this should remind us, if that happens to a senior international person, a leader like Dr. Kizza Besigye, abducted on Saturday, all of Saturday nobody knows, all of Sunday nobody knows, all of Monday nobody knows. There's no statement whatsoever, but we pick from his family that he has been brought to Uganda against international law, against all extradition laws. So we demand for the immediate release of Dr. Kizza Besigye wherever you are. Dr. Kizza Besigye, we stand with you, we respect you, and we will fight for your freedom just like you've always fought for our freedom.
Yeah, That's the country we're living in. If a person of a caliber of Dr. Kizza Besigye can be abducted from Kenya, not from Uganda. The same happened to Bobby Wine. He was abducted from the airport when he was coming back from South Africa. You remember the 1 million march? That is not done anywhere in the world. It shouldn't happen anywhere in the world. It shouldn't happen anywhere in the world. These are jurisdictions that have laws that govern them and they are independent of each other. I think it is high time Ugandans and Kenyans come together and said enough is enough. Actually, we're not supposed to be fighting this as Ugandans alone or Kenyans alone. I want to thank Martha Karua. Martha Karua flew into Uganda or came into Uganda a few days. She's gonna be the lead counsel for Dr. Kizza Besigye in the case in the military court. This is happening today, and you might be saying it doesn't affect you. Tomorrow it's gonna happen to you. Do you know why? Because in a military court, Museveni agikozesezza kutulugunya abo batakkiriziganya nabo oba abatakkiriziganya naye. Ate tekozeseddwa Museveni ka ne subordinates be. Njoli ajja kutuuka ekiseera nga ayagala ttaka lyo, tagenda kukukwata akuteeke mu kooti y'aba civilians. No, agenda kukukwata akuteeke mu military court. And you know what happens in the military court? Baganda baffe be Olivia Lutaya bamaze emyaka ena, the hearing didn't commence. Gwatamanyi kibeera mu kooti omusango gulina okuwulirwa. The hearing, okuwulira kw'omusango gw'aba Olivia Lutaya never commenced till date. Tebavangayo nakutandika emirundi gyonna gye tubadde tujjanga kubasomera misango kusaba bail application. But this is going to affect us as a country. This is the Musevenism we are telling people each and every day. Nti fenna nga bannayuganda tulina okuraisingira wamu nitugambe ekimala. How long are we going to look in or look on when these things are happening? Olijekera kumacharwa kubanga ettaka lye bamugambye lirimu oil bakwate bakuteeke military court. Bwagamba tebikwatako. Let's not take this into politics. Many stories have come up saying Dr. Kizza Besigye is trying to get a comeback. If we don't understand, this is not how things work. Okay, if it is politics, then if we are Ugandans of moral understanding, we know kuvayo to calling for the release of Besigye Rachi. Because ekyakoleddwa kikyamu. Uganda esituka etya ku makya negende Kenya nekwatayo Munnayuganda. Museveni is trying to send a message to you Ugandans in other countries. Nti wherever you are, he's gonna come for you. He's gonna come for you. And it's gonna take us to raise against him. It's gonna take us to say enough is enough. Martha Karua flew into the country to lead Besigye's legal team. And politics is being played around. Bachamumye, practicing license, temporary practicing license. Just over the causes. Naye at the end of the day, njagala tumanye nga bannayuganda, njagala omanye nga munnayuganda. Nga bwe nkugambye, bino ebintu fenna mu ngeri omu oba endala bigenda kutu affecting. Tulina okuteekawo eggwanga erivukibwa ku mateeka. Museveni is the lord of abductions, lord of torture. Mu Uganda y'ensi mw'otulugunyizibwa. Abantu bawambibwa buli lunaku, abantu battibwa buli lunaku, abantu basibibwa awatali misango. So fellow Ugandans, I'm gonna leave you a speech from the president, but I think it is about time we woke up as a country and put an end to this. Because there is a time you're gonna wish you had stood up now. If we don't end Museveni during our time, we are shifting the burden to our children. Imagine your children going through the same life of suffering you're going through. Imagine your children going through the same misrule you're going through. Imagine their children going through a country that has no good education system. The roads are in a bad stature. The hospitals are ailing. Everything has gone to the dogs. Nze Dr. Morgans. Wobola byemboze eno kutuuka eno yonna. Nja kusaba subscribing. Baako omuntu omulala gw'ogabana naye emboozi eno. Ate tulabika okuba nga twongera eddoboozi lyaffe. Njaga kubalekera ka video katini aka president. Have a blessed time.
So when the going gets tough, the tough must get going. Especially when leaders become misleaders and mentors become tormentors. When freedom of expression becomes a target of suppression, opposition becomes our position. Emyaka gibadde mingi n'okunyigirizibwa nakera kubadde kunjiboyi n'essuubi libadde lingi nga tusuubira tembeere nakyukamu waakiri kati nze kyenzudde enkyukakyuka gy'oyo ya boyi eri mu mikono gyo mwennyini nze gw'olinamu essuubi amazima nange lindimu gwe ssebo kale gwe buli bw'onoogwa yimuka otambulirewo ebisuto byekubireko mu kkubo gwe buli bw'onoogwa n'olaga nti ogwamu amaanyi balabira ku ggwe abalala obugobi bw'oyitamu naffe bwe tuyitamu naye tulemerako baka lwe tunaamalako situka tutambule embeera emalamu amaanyi naye topowa tugende tupowa tutambule olugendo luwanvu bwe tulemerako tutuuka